Caution: this game contains scenes of violence and gore, as well as depictions of criminal acts. These acts are strictly punished by law. Please do not attempt to imitate them. This game also contains themes of sexual violence and self-harm. This game is a work of fiction. Any relationship to real persons, groups, places, or crimes is coincidental. Yua had decided that I was the killer. What if she'd taken her delusions to the police? Damn it! And whispered soft enough that nobody... Well, you know, you did pick up the cross. So even though you didn't do it, you're still a dumbass. Alright? You picked up the cross. Shouldn't have done that. Even if you picked up the cross, you should have left the cross there. You should have gone to the police as soon as you saw the crime scene. But you were scared. You know, we all make... But yeah, the one thing that he could have done differently was just not pick up the cross. That's really the one thing that he could have done that would have saved him from being in this place right now. Yua would still be on his dick. They'd be fucking in his porn-ridden, spoiled, musty-ass bedroom. Okay, I'm just ruining the mood. My point being is that literally he could have done everything differently, and if he just didn't pick up a cross, he'd be so fucking in the clear, and he could have been to the police like, yeah, you know, I was fucking terrified that I found a damn body stuck into the wall, and the way he was running on the camera, it looked like he wasn't running to leave, but running out of desperation, because you can slightly see like a frown on his face or some kind of expression. Whereas if he was murdering the person, the expression would either be positive or neutral, but you can tell that it's negative, and not in like the angry way. Or at least maybe like the artwork is not the same in the universe, and so in universe the CRT footage they have is super shitty compared to the artwork of the visual novel. Fuck off. Was this part of Shogun's plot? I didn't do it. I didn't kill anybody. It wasn't me. How come a wimp like me was being chased by the police as a murderer? Why did I have to get caught up in Yua's megalomania? I had to get out of here. My heart was still beating fast and unsteadily, but I had to run. I walked over the bridge, trying to look as natural as possible. In front of me was the bridge heading to Meiji Street. I'd go down it and then escape onto Meiji Street. When I got to the middle of the bridge, someone new appeared on the far side of it. It was a woman in a business suit. She had a phone up to her ear, and she was walking up the stairs with a blank look on her face. Was she a detective too? My heart was racing as I passed by her. Oh, okay. She got me for a second, I'm not gonna lie, that got me. Something felt wrong. The way she spoke was strange and awkward. It sounded like she was an actor putting on a performance. Who was she talking to on the phone? Was she talking to anybody at all? But in the end, she didn't do anything as I passed by. I made it safely to the stairs, and I looked back at the park. The police officer wasn't following me. He was still standing in the same spot, saying something into his radio. One of the homeless people was just standing up. The others didn't move. The man on the bench, the man with the paper, had both stood up and were walking toward me. They both gave each other a glance. They were signaling to each other. At least that's what it looked like. I looked at the woman again. We just passed each other, but now she turned and looked toward me. When our eyes met, she seemed startled and looked away. Her phone was still at her ear, but she wasn't talking. I ran down the stairs, overcome by an indescribable fear. As I headed down Meiji Street, toward the station, I looked up at the bridge. The woman was leaning over the railing and pointing at me. The two men were running across the bridge. They were detectives after all. They were all with the police. Shit. It was Yua's fault. She'd set me up. Should I proclaim my innocence? But right now I was running from the police. They were probably just going to try and frame me anyway. They wouldn't believe a creepy otaku like me. I didn't have time to think about what would happen next. For now, I just needed to get away from Yua and the police. That one desire was the only thing driving me. I ran through the underpass and up the stairs of the pedestrian bridge. People kept getting in my way and blocking me. I started to wonder if they were doing it deliberately. Everyone started looking like a detective. I was on the verge of panic. I looked back and saw somebody chasing me. I got a glimpse of them moving through crowds just like I was. It was one of the people I'd seen at the park. I couldn't tell which, but they were chasing me. I shuddered. If they caught me here, my life was over. I'd be given the death penalty for a crime I didn't commit and put in jail in decades. I'd endure a living hell for years, and then they'd say, "Okay, it's time for you to die." Please, no. I couldn't handle that. I didn't want that to be my life. Even if I was found innocent in the end, once you were branded a criminal, that didn't disappear. Nobody would ever trust me again. Please, no. I didn't do anything. I ducked into a small side alley and kept running as fast as I could. But since I've been running ever since I left that cafe, I quickly ran out of breath. My lungs were desperate for oxygen. My legs could barely move from exhaustion. I regretted not exercising more, but it was far too late for that now. Finally, I stopped, leaning forward with my hands on my knees and panting. I couldn't run anymore. I was in a place I recognized. The distinctive red brick exterior. The big lit-up sign reading Gigantus. I'd come here with Misumi. Back then, I'd come to see Phantasm's concert, more specifically its lead singer, Fess. Now it was quiet and seemingly empty. Only the feeble light of the single vending machine illuminated the front of the building. I glanced at the path I'd come from, annoyed that my breathing wasn't back to normal. It was a dark and narrow alley. The Tokyo's train line passed right above me, the light streaming from the car windows shining bright against the night. But even that light failed to reach the darkness just beneath it. I squinted into the night. Had I ditched the police in Yua? It was too dark to see. Follow me. Ah! I heard a voice right next to my ear. I let out a pathetic scream as I fell back. It was Bess. She was dressed in the elaborate outfit she wore to her concerts. As she quietly stood above me in the darkness, there was a sense of fragility about her I hadn't been there when I saw her on stage. It was too dark to guess the look on her face. As I sat there, too shocked to move, Fess offered me a hand. "Stand up, quickly." Her voice was calm. There was power in it. She slowly turned her head, her hand still stretched out to me, as if to see whatever was beyond the darkness. "We need to run." How? Did she know I was being chased by Yua and the police? For a moment I was cautious, but right now I had no choice but to trust her. I grabbed it and clung tightly. Her hand was cold. As I stood, she started to run. I was angry because of how exhausted I was, but if it weren't for Fess, I might have stayed there until the police caught me. I wanted some water, but I knew there wasn't time. Fess kept pulling me onward. We went down narrow alleyways, turning at one intersection after another. I no longer had any idea where I was going. I barely knew the layout of Shibuya anyway. At this point, I just had to keep following Fess. Part of me thought for a minute that this might be a trap of Shogun's, but I brushed the thought away. Even if Fess was working for Shogun, there was nothing I could do at this point. My leg muscles were filled with lactic acid, and all the running must have kept my brain from getting oxygen, because it felt like I was on the verge of passing out. I had to stop myself from telling Fess I couldn't run anymore. Actually, I might have said it a bunch of times without realizing it, but Fess just kept running, without even looking back at me once. The next thing I knew, we were on a path directly beneath the highway. We were close to Shibuya Station, but there weren't many people here at all. Fess headed down a stairwell that led into darkness. It felt like she knew exactly where she was going. When we got to the very bottom, she finally stopped. I let go of her hand and grabbed onto the stairwell's handrail, panting for breath. How much running had I done today? I wasn't sure if I'd exercised so much in my life. Ah, ah, ah. For a while, the only sounds in the dark, gloomy underground corridor were the sounds of our breathing. I looked up at the stairwell's entrance. Nobody had followed us. Had we gotten away? That said, I'd never seen this little underground corridor before. It was close to the station, but there was nobody here. One of the lights illuminating the tunnel was on the verge of burning out. It was constantly flashing on and off. There was a faint smell of rotting garbage. The place seemed to symbolize the underground side of Shibuya. If somebody attacked you here, you'd scream, but nobody would notice. It wasn't a place I'd want to come to alone. Still panting for breath, I looked over at Fess. was the underground indie singer who was beloved by all, the youth of Shibuya, the one they even called a prophet. And here she was with a creepy otaku like me. It felt kind of weird. Beads of sweat had formed on her forehead, running in rivulets down her face. She was wiping them away from the back of her hand. I could see part of her bare chest in the open jacket, peeking out above the camisole she wore. It was heaving up and down with each breath she took. For all that languid demeanor, I'm trying to ignore it. I'm fucking trying to ignore it. It's hard. It's getting really hard. It's getting really fucking hard. Hey, that's her belly button, okay. Her camisole with the cross design was just incredible. There was no way she was... It's getting really fucking hard! It's getting really fucking hard! I'm about to break my fucking I'm about to break my monitor, I swear! Oh my god, nigga! I look fucking ridiculous. Nigga, do you know the situation you're in right now? Wait, why was I thinking about this now? You were being chased, weren't you? Huh? Yeah. The police. I nodded. It wasn't just the police, but you were too. But I was too tired to explain that. Me too. Huh? What did that mean? They want to talk about how the lyrics I wrote are like some murder case. They were really persistent. Nugent. Fess's lyrics matched every one of the cases. That's why her believers all said the same thing. That she was a prophet. They suspect me, I guess. It's a Nugent killer, huh? Wouldn't it be more likely for somebody to be taking inspiration from her lyrics than for her to be the fucking Nugent killer? It's... Okay, let's look at this from a real-world perspective, from an in-universe perspective. The police have already talked to her. She didn't do that shit, very obviously, you know. And it'd be more likely for somebody to be using her music as an influence and matching up their crimes with her music, right? That's why Scott Cawthon won't open up a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, because he's worried that somebody will kill 5 kids and stuff them into the animatronics, so he'll never have a real-life Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Or 6 or 7 kids. Because, you know, the puppet and the Golden Freddy and Olden Reddy. My point being is that the police targeting her are fucking stupid for... They're, you know, they make sense for targeting Nishijo here. But her... If you already talked to her, and I mean, it's clear that she didn't do it. Probably. I don't know, I'm just biased that she didn't do it since she's like a main character. But also, like, just... I don't know. Whatever. She could have done it. She most likely didn't. I feel like it's just stupid for the police to keep chasing her. But also, you know, they like have a good reason to suspect her, and they have their suspect, and they need somebody to blame this shit on. I had 2 when I... Oh, also, she's somebody who said, "Whose eyes are those?" before it blew up, but, you know, that's not part of it. I'd actually thought she might be Shogun, but since she saved me, that might actually not be true. What was Fess doing? What was Ayase doing here, though? It was just blind luck that she'd been there to save me, right? It was right in front of the concert hall, so maybe she had a concert today? Why were they after you? Did you do something wrong? She told them. That woman, she told them about me. She's telling them I'm the Nugent killer. Yua tried to get me arrested. Damn it, she and Shogun were on the verge of destroying my life. I see. We're both suspects then. How could she be laughing? I'm innocent! I got so excited I yelled. My voice echoed loudly throughout the tunnel. But I couldn't control myself anymore. I just happened to see the murder, that's all, okay? Maybe I took some evidence home, but that's all. I didn't kill anybody. Then, Bess's voice regained its calmness. You must have been guided there by a greater being. What? Another crazy chick? Another lunatic? Whether what you saw was real or an illusion is a minor matter. That's a terrible, awful scene. it's been it's been several hours since I've seen that flash. The last time it flashed was fucking chapter 2, so it's really funny for it to appear again. Was it an illusion? Is that possible? It was so real. The suffering and anger you feel now were necessary for you to experience. Also, I really like how every time it flashes back to him, it like is a flash. It's been a long while since I was at that part of the game. It's been a few weeks, maybe a month, since I was at that part of the game. So it's like a hazy-ish memory to me. And so when it only flashes just a little bit, it's like as if I'm trying to remember it on the spot. What was she talking about? I was disappointed. I'd kind of realized she was crazy when I'd seen her at the concert, but I hadn't realized it was this bad. They say there's a fine line between genius and crazy, but... Find it. Quickly. Find the sword. I gasped. That's what she said at school before. Find it and you'll be saved. That's what she said before. The police were scary, but Shogun and his servants were even scarier. I don't know why, but they were clearly trying to trap me. If I was going to save myself from them, if I was going to protect myself, I needed a D-sword. That's right. Bess's lips curled into a smile. You've done your homework, I see. I have one. I have a D-sword. It's at my house. I know. You know, how do you know? I saw it. You were walking across the center of Shibuya, looking terribly embarrassed as you carried a big toy. She was talking about the day I bought the D-sword. I can't believe she'd seen me. No, hang on, what had Fess just said? Toy? The smile was gone from her face. She glanced at me for a moment and sighed. The air of ennui about her was so strong I was starting to get nervous. It's a fake, I think. That sword you bought. I wasn't that surprised. It was exactly what I expected to hear, actually. Compared to the sword that Senna had, mine looked incredibly cheap. It didn't glow either. And anyway, Fess had told me that this was the sword that was going to save my life. The idea that it was on sale for 10,000 yen next to a bunch of sex toys was too lame to be real. So I wasn't that surprised. Instead, I felt violently angry. Angry at the gloomy-looking shop clerk who tricked me. Angry at myself for being stupid enough to fall for it. Angry at Fess for saying all these important-sounding things without actually telling me anything useful. Then, stood up and stormed over to Fess. Normally I'd be unable to do something like that. But right now I was desperate. My encounters with you and the police had scared me to death. Not only that, I'd been through absolute hell in the past month or so. I was sick of it. If I was going to go back to my normal life, I needed that sword. Tell me, how can I get a D-sword? Well, how can I get a D-sword? The look on Fess's face became very serious as she turned towards me. Look. She held her right palm for me to see. She motioned for me to stop getting closer as she made a fist. She flung her arm back, and with a sound like breaking glass, the empty air cracked and shattered. My eyes went wide in shock. Fess stared at me, her expression unchanging. The cracks in space. I could see a deep darkness. Fess stuck her hand in between the cracks and pulled hard. And a D-sword. The crack in space was repaired almost instantly. It appeared as if it had never been there. I disappeared. The whole thing only took a few seconds. Was that a magic trick? Or just a delusion I'd seen? I couldn't believe what happened in front of my very eyes. It didn't feel real. This was something out of a fantasy. Or an anime. This sword controls fate. Sword was the one that Fess was waving around during her concert. I thought it was a mic stand. Shaped like one of those battleships you see in every sci-fi anime. This sword is convergence of sorrow. There wasn't a single straight edge on the whole thing, but it was sharp, beautiful, and
この
terrible.
剣は
This sword allows
超
us to
越した場
interact
所
with
に
a
干
higher
渉す
plane.
るためのもの。
It felt like touching it would cut your fingers clean off.
超越した場
A
所って
higher plane? I couldn't look away. My eyes were locked on Fess's D-sword. I couldn't help but ask.
異空間
Another space, you might say. Another space. This whole thing was turning into
同
an
一次
anime.
元上にある
Another possibility that
もう
exists
一つ
within
の
our
可能
dimension.
性、あるいは
Or
妄
perhaps
想。
a delusion.
言い
Delusion?
方にあんまり意味
What
は
you
ない
call it doesn't matter.
確かなの。
The one thing that's certain is
この剣も
this
その領
sword
域に存在
exists
している。
within this space. That mean that the D-sword was a product of Fess's delusions? The impossible seen-eyed witness was just a delusion? It didn't exist in reality?
そんなの
That's
ありえ
impossible.
ない。
そう。
Is it? If Fess's sword was a delusion, how could I
言
see
葉
it?
に
Don't
引き
let
ずられ
words
て
control you.
後ろを振り返ってみ
Left
て
behind you. I was confused as Fess undemand but obeyed. Behind me was the stairs and also... Okay, I might have to censor that. Wait. White underwear. Like he said, he wanted her... Okay, well that's blue, first of all. But he said he wanted her to wear white underwear, like a kind of good girl vibe.
え
Fess was beside me, and in front of the stairs. There were two of the same person in the same place. And one of them was in her underwear, too. What? Shocked, I looked back and forth from one to the other. Their face, build, hair, everything was the exact same. The only difference was their clothes, and whether... She looked so weird here. And whether they were holding a sword or not. They weren't twins or anything like that. They didn't just look alike. They were exactly the same. I'd seen lots of girls in their underwear in H games. But this was totally different. I'd seen Nanami in her underwear when she was little too. So he's expressed multiple times that he is not incestuously attracted to his sister, but I still feel like there is no reason for him to have mentioned that. Fess was standing here in this filthy tunnel in her underwear. It was such an unbelievable situation that my head was spinning. I knew I shouldn't look, but I kept glancing at it anyway. It took a lot of effort to look down, so I'm sorry. I found myself apologizing. And this is what I'd been imagining in my delusions a few minutes ago. This is what I'd been thinking about. I'd been thinking about Fess in white underwear.
君が望んだ妄想
This is the delusion you desired. Both of them spoke the same words at the same time. I gulped. My face was turning red with incredible speed. I had to come up with an excuse. I had to come up with some kind of lie. If a 3D girl labeled you a pervert, you were... Damn it, I said 3D. Wait, no, that was important. But more importantly, what the hell was going on here? Yasujiban was walking through a filthy, narrow alleyway in Maruyamacho. He jammed his hand in his pocket. He checked, making sure there were a dozen coins or so inside. Hey, what do you expect to find at the scene of Crucified? It's been over 2 weeks since... What? It's been okay, he says it's been over 2 weeks, so yeah, but like, it... I don't know, that's so weird. I feel like the way that... I hate that fucking bird! But the way that Nishijo describes it, it feels like it's been like a month. Right? So it feels weird that it would be described as over 2 weeks. But also it makes sense that why he would describe it as just over 2 weeks rather than like, it's been a month. You know, because that's like... That's how long they would have kept the scene intact. Or tried to preserve the scene for the sake of whatever. There's not going to be any new evidence. His partner, Detective Suo, was walking behind him and complaining in an irritated voice. It was only natural that Suo would be upset. The job they'd been given was to tail Takumi Nishijo, a person of interest in the Nugent murder cases. But right now, they were ignoring that job to come visit the scene of the third Nugent case, Crucified. Bond had left the job of tailing Nishijo to some of the local cops without bothering to tell the rest of the force he'd done so. From the perspective of a rookie like Suo, this was reckless and crazy. We shouldn't be here. Let's go back to our tale. Bond had dragged him here without any explanation. Of course he was upset. So he'd been trying to persuade Bond to turn back for a while now, but... Shut the fuck up, nigga. Bond completely ignored with Ricky's process and didn't seem the slightest bit concerned. Before long, they reached a narrow road blocked off by yellow tape. As Sua sighed again, seemingly for the 100th time that day, his phone buzzed. He took it out, the look on his face quickly returning to that of a young, capable detective before he pressed the button to answer. This is Sua. Yes. Yes. Bond stopped in front of the tape as he listened to Sua talking behind him. Past the tape was the crime scene. The place was dark, like it had been during the time of the crime. Except for the tape, there was nothing to indicate that anything had ever happened. You lost him? A girl? Wow, didn't see that one coming. Anyway, head back to his house in Shinsen. Yeah, stake it out. No, it's fine. Lieutenant Bond will take full responsibility. Bond chuckled a little when he heard that. Sua was cleverer than he looked. Of course, Bond had no intention of letting Sua or the locals take the fall for him. We'll hook up with you as soon as we can. I'm really sorry. Thanks. Sua hung up the phone and glared at him just about the same time as Bond ducked under the tape. Sua followed reluctantly. They lost him? He noticed the tail. It looks like there was some kind of struggle at the net cafe just before it happened. And what's this about a girl? Ayase Kishimoto. The girl from the famous band, huh? Any connection? So, was Yua working with the police? Probably not. I think that was just coincidental. They're in the same grade at the same school. Nothing else for now. They're not classmates even. Bond ran his hand through his stubble, enjoying the sensation for just a moment. Then he took out the coins from his pocket and began to count them in the darkness. Sua watched his partner's strange behavior, his mouth hanging open. What are you doing? I'm missing a 5 yen coin. Damn it. Sua, you got 5 yen on you? What'd he say? I guess. Sua handed the 5 yen over, confused with the look on his face. But instead of taking it for some reason, Bond ripped off the bottom button on his dress shirt. Then he began to unravel the string wrapped around it. Have you finally gone crazy? You've certainly got a mouth on you, huh? Bond chuckled and lightly punched him on the forehead. He took the 5 yen coin and ran the string through the hole in the middle. Okay, I'll let you do it then. Bond pinched both ends of the string with his fingers, hanging the 5 yen coin behind them. He gave back to his younger partner. A pendulum? Yep. Bond laughed mischievously. It might give us an important hint we can use to solve the case. Seriously? Bond, you should know better than this. Did you ditch your job and come all the way here to play with a pendulum? Sua sounded like he was on the verge of tears. Bond had dragged him on a lot of wild goose chases, but this was the worst of the lot. Are you a psychic detective right now? Are we out here dowsing? Did you get this from a TV show or something? You seem to know a lot about this stuff. Well, I mean, I saw it too. Last week's Yuri Brightman. Yuri Bright? A famous American investigator. Nah, what I saw wasn't some made-for-TV thing. There was a smarty-pants professor from a famous university. But it was on TV, right? Man, you can plan a lot. Just try it and we'll know for sure. Come on, let's hang in there. Bond had seniority, so Sua had no choice but to obey. He frowned and pouted, but he did take the 5 yen coin. He pinched his hands. He pinched the end of the strings and let the coin move in a circle. It was too dark to see, so Bond flipped out a 100 yen lighter and struck it to give some light. Do you smoke? I quit over a decade ago. Why? Well, you have that lighter. I thought we might need a light, so I made sure I brought one. Why did he laugh like that? He literally said the words, "Oh." Try moving it around, stopping it, that sort of thing. Bond was staring at the movement of the 5 yen coin intently. He looked so serious that Sua found himself unable to complain anymore. Okay, what the fuck are these two doing? I get that everything in this shit is gonna be important eventually, I'm not the type of person to be like, man, what the fuck is this filler? You know? But like, I really want to know sooner rather than later what the fuck these two are doing. Because right, I understand that later is going to be important, but it feels like they're just kind of jacking off. I knew it. Sua, do you see it? See what? The way the coin's moving. It feels like it's moving in kind of an ellipse, right? The coin was moving slowly in a circular motion, held up by the string. Sua looked at it, a little confused. Maybe it's just the way I'm spinning it? Are you trying to spin it in an ellipse? No, I'm being pretty random about it. Try to keep your hands steady. Okay. Sua tried his hardest to make it move in a circle, but no matter how many times he tried, it kept tracing out an ellipse. That's weird. You try and make it go in a different shape and it doesn't work, right? Bond grinned. Sua, however, seemed unsatisfied and kept trying to spin the coin. Well, it doesn't happen just anywhere in Shibuya, but there are supposedly at least a dozen places like this. Yeah, it's weird, but so what? Bond looked up with a satisfied smile, putting the lighter in his pocket and taking the fan out from his belt. You know why so many young kids are drawn to Shibuya? Because 5 yen coins travel in ellipses? Sua admitted as a joke, but Bond calmly waved his fan and nodded. Yeah, that's right. You know why so many kids are drawn to Shibuya? Bess began to talk about something completely different. Internally, I was relieved. I thought she'd treat me like I was a pervert, but instead she just ignored what was happening. There aren't many places in Japan. No, in the whole world like this. Did it have something to do with the D-sword? If not, I didn't care. I needed Fess to tell me how to get a real D-sword. Not Shinjuku or Ikebukuro. Shibuya. It's Shibuya that's famous. The two Fesses were speaking to me simultaneously, one in front of me and one in back. They were in perfect sync. Listening to them made me feel kind of strange. Maybe Fess had split? Maybe one of them was real and the other wasn't? Or maybe they were both fake? Shibuya is a city of youth. Every Japanese person knows that. Why is that? Why, well, I didn't care. Because it's a city of fashion? Because there are so many stores? Because so many trends start here? Because it's on TV a lot? Because it's easy to get to? No, none of those reasons are correct. The two Fesses paused for a moment. I felt awkward with the ISA watching me both in the front and the back. The great will. The will of a higher dimensional being. Or put more simply, Kami-sama. Oh no. Could this be? Was I being recruited for some kind of weird... Fuck! I wasn't sure if I should... You saw her! You know, she said her next words that ceased to be an option. The D-swords are an expression of the Great Will's guidance. You know what gravity is, right? Sua had been sure they were going to Shinsen, so he looked confused as he followed. You mean like universal gravitation? Oh, you do know. I guess you did go to a good college. Oh, fuck. Okay, what the fuck is universal gravitation? Tips list. Wait. I'm sorry, nigga. This is just gravity. This is just gravity. When he said, do you know... When he was saying gravity... When he was saying, like, gravity, I thought he was going to talk about something supernatural. What? Man, is he like... surprised by the way that Sua said gravity? You know, like the way he was saying it. The word he was saying. Like, he said a fancy way that got translated to universal gravitation. So was he, like, surprised that Sua said it fancily. Because there's no other reason for him to be fucking surprised about fucking gravity, nigga. I'm afraid I didn't study the occult in my time at college. It ain't occult I'm talking about. There are a bunch of places in this world where gravity is unbalanced. Unbalanced? That's why the pendulum goes in ellipse. They call it the GE ray. GE ray? Yeah, I forget what the official name is. Gravity error? Gravitation, maybe? If it's gravity. Gravitation error rate? Oh, yeah, that's it. The gravitation error rate. I guess it's the rate at which gravity doesn't work, right? You should be able to find it in a physics book. I don't remember seeing it there. GE rate. The GE rate. The rate at which universal gravitation is unbalanced. Universal gravitation was the basic natural force discovered by Isaac Newton. It's a force that worked both on matter and energy. The layers of geologic strata below the Earth's surface were said to have a huge effect on it. Layers of volcanic rock beneath the Earth, for example, were known for spewing up magnetic fields. That's why, for instance, compasses wouldn't work in the Aokigahara Forest at the base of Mount Fuji. A fossil there would be another example. It would contain large amounts of iron and calcium, and research showed that these could reflect magnetism. And magnetite, especially, was known for its effect on gravity. Magnetite was a naturally occurring magnet in octahedral crystals. With octahedral crystals, if enough of it were to ever be found in a single place, that it would exist as a geological lesbian. It would be as if the surface of the Earth itself had turned into a magnet. It would likely have a slight effect on the gravity in the area. You could take the effect these geological factors had on the gravitational balance of an area, turn it into a number. That number was its GE rate. By the time Bond finished his explanation, the two of them were out on one of the bigger streets in Dogenzaka. The whole area seemed much brighter. Shibuya's average GE rate is supposedly among the highest in the world. There must have been cases of people setting a ball on the ground and having it travel up a hill. Seriously? So I had been quietly listening until now, but his reaction was a little over-dramatic. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. You love those, right? I don't like the cerebral runs. I like the big space operas. Whatever. Fuck off, nigga. It's never heard of the GE rate thing. Don't take your ignorance on me. Detective need to be able to look at things in a... Sewell was right. GE rates were a major field of study, not something you'd ever learn in a typical college curriculum. Bond had only found out about them a few weeks ago. You still haven't told me the answer anyway. Why would an unbalance in Shibuya's gravity attract young people to it? Humanity has a strange relationship to gravity. Did you know that living things' biorhythms are affected by the gravity of the moon? It's not just the tides. I once heard that sea turtles lay their eggs based on the phase of the moon. Oh yeah, they always lay them on the night of the full moon. But it's not just sea turtles. Coral also lay its eggs on the night of the full moon too. Oh, that's when it looks like it's snowing in the sea. It's been proven scientifically that gravity gets stronger on the night of a full moon. Of course it's got an effect on humans too. You mean human births too? Not just births. I said biorhythms, right? Not just biology, but traffic accidents, crime, sickness, appetites, libido. Libido. It's all deeply connected to all of that. They said that the blood goes to the back of your head when you get mad, right? That's because the moon's gravity is pulling it there. That's going a bit too far, I think. It's like you're saying that we don't have any emotions of our own, and it's all the moon's fault. I'm not going that far. Mass psychology, they call it. You know, when you come here, you start feeling good. You want to go a little crazy. It's the same with how everybody's reacting to the Nugent incidents. Everybody in this city who sees it has the same reaction. They're all having a great time. None of them are worried they might be next. They're all just enjoying the show.
And that's because of the GE rate?
It's possible, right? If the young kids all have this subconscious idea that coming to Shibuya means a fun time,
That explained why they're so drawn to it, yeah.
Bon was impressed. Suo was a quick learner. He was still young, but he was good at this stuff.
And what made him different from the other kids was that he didn't just blindly follow his partner's orders. If something seemed wrong or if he had questions, he'd speak up. I get how the GE rate works, I guess, but how does that help us find the killer? If the GE rate was causing crimes like this one, you'd think we'd be seeing Nugent cases going back hundreds of years.
Well, that's what needs to be looked at now by a specialist, that is. You're not going to look into it? I'm a detective, not a scientist. Bon grinned. All I'm investigating is Nugent. That's why I skipped out on work to come measure the GE rate at the crime scene. Say every spot had the same GE rate irregularity. What would that mean, you think? Don't tell me. Suo's eyes went wide and he stopped in his tracks. He seemed to have noticed what Bon was leading toward. The next murder is going to take place at a spot with an irregular GE rate. That would mean we could narrow down potential locations of the next murder, right? We don't know that for sure. That's what we're about to find out. There was something in this town. Something unknown, something lurking behind the glamour and lights. Maybe it was Pandora's box, which nobody should ever open.
And that's what Bon thought as he watched people come and go down the street.
理想度のまだ
The D swords are an expression of the Great Will's guidance. Okay, so Underwear Say is still over there. That was enough to finally make me snap. Bess had been continually changing the subject, talking about things that didn't matter at all. The Great Will, the reason young people came to Shibuya. I wasn't interested in those things.
These are important! Just telling you about them for a reason. There's only one thing I wanted to know. How do I get a D sword? I went to my courage and asked. Tell me!
It was a huge sword, but she seemed to carry it like it weighed nothing. It occurred to me that Fess might be incredibly strong. It's not something you can be told. Why? After all that crap she made me listen to, she wasn't going to tell me the most important thing?
What the hell? You have to find it by yourself.
I don't know how. She didn't know, so how did she get the one in her hands? But the D sword only reveals itself to those who have the power. So people who didn't have the power couldn't see it? I could see it quite clearly. What does she mean by the power? Does she mean that I had superpowers too, like the two
君には
You can see my sword, right?
それがいいにする
That can mean only one thing. If having that power is why Yua and Shogun were coming after me. And I didn't even want it, but I still wanted a D sword. Ayase said that having it would save me. The Great Will, the reason young people came to Shibuya, those things didn't matter to me. I didn't need any power. I didn't want any trouble. But the sword, I needed the sword to protect me from Yua and Shogun. Feel it. Feel the will the world has chosen. Professor's answer was vague and hard to understand. I bit my lip, trying to figure out how to get more information out of her. But I could barely talk to real girls, even on a good day. Trying to figure out a way to get information out of one was beyond me. I tried to think back through the... Man, I just realized... You and me both, pal. You and me both.
君
What's your name? Huh? Fessa turned away from me and was walking deeper into the tunnel. I'm Ayase Kishimoto. Only then I realized we had to introduce ourselves to each other.
日常
Takumi Nishijo. Ayase had her back to me, so I couldn't see the look on her face. I couldn't tell why she'd laugh. Let's meet again, Takumi. Ayase got further and further away. I turned around a little afraid to look at what the other Ayase was doing. But she was gone entirely. Whether she'd literally disappeared or just walked out of the tunnel, I couldn't tell. Ayase had said she was a delusion. Was that the power of the D-sword? Looked back down the tunnel. There was another staircase 50 meters down the tunnel. Ayase was walking up it. Before long, she was entirely gone from view. I was left alone with the silence of the eerie tunnel. I didn't have the courage to yell at her, and I was too tired and lazy to run after her. In the end, all I could do was go back home. Do not! Do not! No, nigga, don't go home. No, 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 no.